Well, hello, everybody. My name's Gary Schrader, and I work for the TM Group, and I welcome you to our webinar today, which is going to be on Dynamics GP workflow. Just a quick history of me. I've been working for the TM Group for a little over 5 years now, and I have been associated with the TM Group. I was in the user community, and TM Group was our reseller back in 2000. I hate to even say it out loud, 2003. So I've been, quite a few years associated with the TM Group, and they were always somebody I truly enjoyed and liked the group that I was working with. And so when it was time to move on, the TM Group was my first choice. So I've been involved in a number of different projects working with the TM Group. And one of the most recent was I work with a product called RecLogic, which is a requisition front end to Great Plains. And Great Plains has now come up with the GP workflow, which also includes a requisition process. So it's a very nice tool. It can be used in a number of different products within the GP world, and we're going to go over those briefly as we move along. Actually, I think my next screen. So Workflow came out in version 2013 of Great Plains, and they had a very limited amount of workflow set up, and a lot of these are predefined, and so you have this, you have to select from what they have. But purchasing, they've made some huge strides as far as the details that they have available. But they also have financial, sales, quite a bit in payroll. I don't have much experience on the payroll side, but then they also have project and administration. Some of the detail level that they have for the modules. So in purchasing, you can have a payables batch approval. So the existing Great Plains has the ability where you can put in a password and it can get approved with that password, before that can get posted. This is a little cleaner way of the AP person submits the batch for approval, and then there's an audit trail that goes right along with it. So it is a little nicer, the payables batch version. Then you can also go down to the payables transaction level, so that if you have dollar amounts that you want to make sure that they get approved, department heads approve it, so that they can, what they do is AP would key in that payables transaction and then submit it for the approval process. I've highlighted purchase orders. I'm not sure we're going to have time to go into that one, but purchase orders, and they have a requisition as well, where you can key in the preliminary information. In the requisition, you don't need to put the vendor in. In the purchase order, you can put the vendor in, and again, you submit it, and then it goes to the various levels for approval. And then there's also invoicing and transactions. I'm definitely going to go over vendor approval. We'll follow that through the process. So those two are highlighted. If we have time, we'll go back to purchase order, and if not, we'll just do the vendor. In the financial application, you have the general ledger account approval, so that no one can set up a brand new account. And when they type it in, it says, hey, this is new. They have to submit it. And that transaction or that account cannot be hit until it's been approved. And then similar to the batch approval in AP, there's a general ledger batch approval. In the sales side, they've got receivables batch approval. And just should note here that receivables is RM, receivables management. And then the SOP side, sales order processing, is only at the transaction level. There isn't a batch level for that one, probably in the next newer version. As I mentioned, I don't have proficiency in payroll. but they do have these workflows already predefined. So they got employee profile, employee skills, direct deposit, time card, and then payroll W-4. So again, someone would be keying that transaction, and then based on the criteria set up in the workflow, it would go to the next person in line. And if there's more, you can do 3 levels of approval. Project, I'm not sure anybody's using project in this group today, but we got expense report approval and timesheet approval. And then the last one is just an admin. So what I'm probably going to jump off this screen for this point, but what you do for a workflow process is you set up the approver, the managers, who's going to be the ones that are going to get final approval, and you set it up whether they're going to be a single person approve it or multiple people approve it. That's an attribute that you set up. And then on that next page is we've got the options set up, and it's like, how do you send notifications? Do you want to send them for completed tasks? And you can highlight in any and everything if you want. And then what do you do if the task is overdue? And what we're going to do, where I'm going to take us now is into this workflow. I forgot to mention, Allie is online, but she's having a little bit of problems with her speakers, and so we're getting a lot of muffled. So if you have any questions, if I'm going too fast, going too slow, click on the chat and send me a message, and then I'll try to address it as the time comes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to, this is our website where we have Great Plains installed. It's a test environment. So the only thing that I don't have operational today is when I approve it within an email. So someone makes a change request, they submit it, I get email notification, and in my email notification, I can actually approve, reject, or delegate it to someone else to review. And that final piece is not working right now in our test environment. It does work in other production clients that I have. It's just where we're hosted right now is that there's a firewall issue that they're trying to address. So I'm logged in right now as the AP person, but what I wanted to do first is just go over briefly. So under Tools, Setup, Company, and then under Workflow, there's Workflow Maintenance. So again, that was Tools, Setup, Company, because you can have workflow in Company A that's totally different than the workflow in Company B. So as I mentioned, we have payables. We have payables transaction level. We have purchase order approval, which I do have some workflow set up in that one already. Requisition, I have a requisition approval already set up. And the little plus sign opens up, different levels of the windows. Again, I'm going to start off with vendor for today's session. So actually, I should go back to that first screen. So right now, the key to it is what managers are going to be doing the approval for this transaction. So again, I'm doing vendor approval. What that is any time a change is made to a vendor, you change the contact, you change the account number, you change the direct deposit for ACHs, any, so if you change the bank accounting information, any change that's done to a vendor puts it into the workflow session, and so that no one can put any activity against that vendor while it's in the approval process. So if someone tries to change a bank account and submits it, no AP transactions can be applied against that. You can put in a new transaction, but you can't pull checks, you can't do anything of that nature while it's in the approval process. So what we do here is I assign myself as a manager. So that's got to set up your managers. So you could have multiple managers for the approval. The next thing that you do is we come into the vendor workflow. The key thing is once you get it all done, you got to check on this active to get it working. But what we're doing here is we're saying we got vendor approval, and here are the options. Some of these, I've kind of got them turned on for the testing purposes, but you may or may not want these. Especially allow the allow the originator to be an approver. I'm doing that just again for testing, but in reality, you probably wouldn't, have that as an option set. Allow the approver to delegate tasks and send notifications. This one is the one where I mentioned you can send emails. This is an option that that you can select. And sorry, I have to have my email on so that I can show you how the email comes through. So we're going to get hit with a few extra that we don't want. But in this case, I'm saying, okay, I want you to, you can check these or you can uncheck these, but I want notification of activity going on. So when somebody submits in this case, vendor change, I want an email sent. When someone approves it, when the task is completed, if there's multiple tasks that have to be, like maybe it's a dollar limit on a purchase order or it's an IT driven and the IT manager has to review it. So that would be a task, a next level task. If somebody rejects it or if somebody delegates that, I'm just turning those on. You don't have to have those because you could get pretty inundated with emails. So close that off. So again, that's send notifications when steps are completed. And then these other actions here. So then we can go to the final. And this is the approval. And in this step, this is where you, in the case of a vendor approval, we just want to approve it. We're not, I'm not specifying that based on a department, based on a manager, based on a dollar amount, whether we want that to, to go through other approvals. But if you want that, that's where you would check this box. And I'll show you that one if we, based on the time, if how we do it for like a requisition. So at this point, I'm really done. I've got this all set up. That's all it took. Here is send message when there's final approval. You can have documents so that if it's a requisition and you have attachments for quotes, you can say include those attachments when you move it through the process. And you definitely want to have that one checked. In this case, I'm saying only one response is needed because I've only got myself set up, but you might have to have majority approve or almost approved. Okay, just looking for a quick check, no questions yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this. And this AP entry person would normally not see any of that activity, but again, I've got it turned on so I can easily make changes. When you're in workflow, there's two ways. This is workflow task. And as you can see, I'm logged on as this AP person, and they have submitted purchase orders, and they've also submitted vendor approvals. And in their case, approval is needed. If I log on to myself, I'm going to see that, those same thing, only it's going to say approval needed for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to purchasing. So that's kind of the background. It's like that you set the workflow up, and then you come in here on the vendor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick vendor. Okay, here's one that's in submit mode. I don't know if you noticed the change. So there's some verbiage here. So we have TM vendor workflow. That's the name that I gave this process. And there was some completed activity back in September. Wow, that was quite a while ago. But you can walk through these. This was done in October. I'm going to go past the one that I've got submitted. Okay, in this case, it says the vendor was not activated. This one's pending approval, so there's some process that I've got to approve. And that doesn't look like a great vendor, so here's one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a change, and I'm going to add vendor account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm making a change to this vendor. Pending. Okay, I'm sorry, that one. I missed that one. We're going to save that. That's going to get submitted as well. Workflow not attached. Okay, so I'm going to do this one. Sorry, that other one I didn't catch that I already had activity against it. VA account added. 1, 2, 3, 4. And any change, if you change the address, if you change the state, as I mentioned, the bank accounts, if you went into email and this one had direct deposits, you could, make that change. But anytime a change is made, the screen senses there was some activity, and now it's put up this submit button. And what that means is, like I said, it kind of inactivates this vendor. So we're going to click on the submit button, and then you put in some comments. Okay, testing for a webinar. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and submit that transaction. Now, if we go back, okay, there it is. I was just kind of waiting. So what it is I got an email, and it was from our office, and there was a transaction submitted, and it's letting me know. Okay, so I'm going to move that one off, and then I get one. So I got notified because someone submitted one, but then I also got a task assignment because I'm the manager that needs to approve this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to my email. And as you can see, those are the 2 emails that just came through. So if I click on this one, all it said is, and again, it's because of the way I'm logged in as that AP person, but document, the document is the vendor has been submitted, and you have the ability to change these emails. You could put a logo on it if you wanted to, or whatever, but you have complete control of what gets displayed as far as verbiage on there. And then there's certain fields that you're able to select for being displayed from that Great Plains activity. The second email I got was the ability of approving, rejecting, or delegating. So again, if I clicked on this, this is not going to work for the test environment unless I'm logged into Office 365 on the server. So we're trying to work through that so that I could just approve it from my email. But this email or vendor we're changing is Beaumont. And in theory, like I said, I could click on this, I could reject it, and when I reject it, it would ask me for comments, and then I can also delegate. Let's see what happens if I do approve. I think I just get bombed out. Yeah. Yeah, I have to log into the server, and we're just not going to do that for this test. Let's go back to our webinar. I'm going to close this one, cancel this one. Okay, so I'm going to close this. And I'm going to log in as can I spell? Not very well. So as a starting point, what you could do is, as the screen comes up, my home screen, you could have it, and it's telling me it's a test company, I know that. So this is that last one that just came through. These other ones are ones that I haven't turned on, but I'm seeing if I can move this. No, I can't seem to move this. See, it's sitting right on, there it is. So what I need to do in order to show this is I need to click on workflow. So I clicked on the customize this page, and then what I do is I click on Microsoft Workflow Notifications and Workflow Task. I want to turn actually all three of these on. So that's just one thing to remember. It's like, hey, I'm not seeing any notification. And I do have clients that only use this. They don't have the email. They're not concerned with that. They only want the notifications and activity to be shown here in Great Plains. So from this screen, I can double click the approval. And this is showing me that it's pending approval by me. And what happened to my approval button? Uh-oh. Let me go back one to see if there's, I saw it pop up. Oh, there it was workflow. It's kind of got hidden. Sorry about that. So under workflow, I can view history. And in the history, it will tell me, when the task is over, do what's going to happen. Here is my verbiage. When I did this submit, there was a little comment screen that popped up to allow me to enter some additional comments, and then that's what I did. I said testing for the webinar. There could be, again, requisitions, purchase orders where you would have, it got delegated, it got submitted to somebody else. Why, and that comment would be shown there. So the other piece of the workflow is, what do I want to do? Well, that's those same options that I saw on my email, I have now popping up as far as on the workflow. So in this case, they're saying they added that vendor 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to approve that. And I'm going to put in a comment. Yes, I agree to this change. And I can approve it. Now, at the same time, I could reject it and I would get prompted to put in comments, or I could delegate. It's like, oh, this is something I'm not sure of, so I'm going to delegate it to somebody else. Questions that get raised as far as the approvals from within the email, the user getting, or the individual getting that notification does not necessarily have to be a Great Plains user. So it could be, if you're doing it for purchase orders, it could be somebody who's not logged into Great Plains, but you want them to approve, and that approval can be done and flown, it will flow through the system. If you're only using the email or using the email in conjunction with Great Plains. If you're not using the email, then the user has to be have a login to Great Plains, because they would log in and then they would approve it this way. What I'm going to do is, if you notice, that's still there, but that's what we have to do is basically refresh that screen. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to financial, and then I'm going to go back to home. And in theory, that one should be gone, and it is. So that's pretty much the vendor process. I think I went through a little faster than I was thinking. Any questions on that so far? And not seeing anything, at least on my side. Ellie, are you seeing anything? I'm gonna say no. So I think. Oh, nope. I'm gonna go back to the AP person. And as soon as the screen populates, I'm going to go to Tools, Setup. Again, I'm going to go to Company and Workflow Maintenance. This is a one-time setup. Once you have the the purchase order set up or the requisition, once you have that in place, you don't touch it again. And so what I'm going to do, so again on my why is it popping up there? I want purchase order. So in purchase order, I've got two managers in place, and this screen, this second screen, looks similar except for I have some conditional activity going on here. So when the AP person keys it in, I'm the manager, so it comes to me first. And let's see how big we can get this. Open this up a little bit more. What I want to do is I have some verbiage in here. Less than and including, almost got it. There we go. So if it's less than and includes $1,000, then I can approve it. If I approve it, then it's done. If it's greater than $1,000, I need to review it, but then I approve it, and then it goes to the TMG VP, who happens to be Jackie James, and she can approve stuff up to $10,000. So if it's $9,500, she can approve it and it's done. But if it's over $10,000, then it goes to the CFO. And again, everything else is pretty well set. I'm going to double click on this for a second to show you how that's done. But again, we have the same actions here. I didn't really talk about when a task is overdue. So right now I'm not taking any action, but let's just say, there's been a time frame, and that was actually on the next screen, it'll say, what's the time frame? We can, when a task is overdue, if it's sitting there for 2 days or 3 days or 2 hours, whatever it may be, we say escalate to the next approver. Or we can escalate to some other individual, or we can reject them all. For testing purposes, I'm just taking no action. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this. And no, I don't have any changes to it. So the only thing different between the vendor and the vendor approval that we went through and then this one is, in this case, we've added a condition. And the condition is action is required only when the following condition is met. And how you get that information is you click on the little blue arrow that will open up this screen. And what you have, so right now I've already got a condition in there, so it's automatically assuming I'm adding more. And so when I say you select a field, these are the individual data fields that can be accessed and interrogated. So maybe you add a particular description, if it's got IT in it, or a particular item number, or a job number. Let's see, what are other ones? We got project numbers, promise date, quantities, sites, and what else? Maybe what we're doing is based on the total, the total of the purchase order. There is account numbers, so we got item numbers and I said account numbers as well. So what you do is, you grab the field and then you say does not contain is, the typical Boolean checks that you want to do. And then you can compare it to a constant field or a field level, and then you just add it. So then it would be in conjunction with the one that's already there. Okay, in this case, if it's less than $1,000, it's just going to go to me. The AP person keys it, and then it's going to go to, and I've assigned it to me. You could assign it to other individuals, based on, this is where you do here, and you do your lookup, and then you add them to that level. So it would be multiple people here. The time limit is 8 hours. And so in this case, a day. And then you send reminders. You can, send the messages. There is that reminder. And then in this case, I'm saying everybody must approve it. All right, let me go to the next level, the TMG. So what the TMG level, so the VP, so we did the manager, I approved it, and this is, less than $10,000. So in this step, it says if, and what this says is, okay, let's just say it's greater than $10,000. What happens if it doesn't, hit that criteria? Well, it does, it goes to the next step. And so, and it says, where did you come from? Well, I went through the manager step and it was greater than $1,000. So it came here. And then, and what you can do is you can do as well. So I'm just doing the step. So if it's less than 1,000, the first person gets it. Less than 10,000, the first person's already approved and done. So if it's greater than 1,000 and less than 10, it falls into the second criteria. Okay. Again, looking for questions, nothing yet. Okay, so I'm going to close this screen. And that's kind of the background. Again, you set that up one time and it's done. So now we're going to go back to purchasing. And I'm going to put in a purchase order. That one was active, wasn't it? Let me double. I just want to check that real quick to make sure I've got it active. Sorry. Tools setup, because we've been doing some different testing, so I want to make sure that one was still active because I didn't see my workflow button. Purchase order. Yeah, and it is active. Okay. So I'm going to put in a PO, and I'm not going to put in a buyer. I'm going to put in a vendor. I'm going to pick one that's towards the top. Oh yeah, that's okay. Got a big red dot on that one, but so I'm going to pick an item number. It's a phone. Oh geez, sorry. I'm going to assign it to this vendor. Save it. Yes. And each $26. So I'm going to do 100. So 2,800, and I got to put my site. North region is good enough. Okay, so at this point, what did I say? I was 1,000. You know what? I'm going to make that 5. No, 20, 25. That's good enough. Okay. So I'm just doing that so it's under $1,000. So again, this purchase order, right now it's saying the PO workflow, it's not submitted, meaning we haven't done anything yet. And you could save this, come back and make changes to it. And then ultimately you click on the submit button. Submit button again prompts me for a comment. And I need these as soon as possible. That's never a request. And again, I submit. Close this screen. And okay, so document has been submitted. Hopefully you're seeing the email. So that's just my email notification. It's been submitted. And I'm going to log in as Gary. Come on. And say okay. And okay. And I don't remember which one it was. Was it 2106? Let's just say it was that one for now. And so that purchase order was submitted. We could view the history again, much like the vendor. We could view the history of where it came from. Okay, nope, that wasn't the one I picked, but anyways, ultimately you can, you'll have a running history if it got rejected, if it got delegated, and then I have the ability at this point, hopefully, to approve. And put in my notes. And approve. And that was 106, so hopefully. And 106 has been approved. Okay, and so then in my case, I submitted I asked to be notified when, let's see if I can open that one up. So I wanted to be notified of the approvals, and that's what it did. The 106 has been approved. And there in a nutshell, that's pretty much the workflow process. So you have all of the ones, those are all predefined, and I'm running the latest version 2018. So you may not see some of the ones we saw today, depending upon your version. And might want to consider upgrading to get these if something is of interest that you saw. But those predefined ones, and then you just put in the criteria, put in the managers who they go to, and you can set it by department so that certain department heads, managers only see certain account numbers and or dollar amounts if you want to do it that way. And I say, and the other key is you have 3 levels. So a more sophisticated tool, you can have basically unlimited levels of approval, but for this particular you have 3 levels. And that's really all I've got for today, unless there's someone with additional questions. And I think I'm going to give you, I think we had an hour blocked for today, but I guess I talked too fast. So, Allie, I think that's it for me. I think you're recording this so that, it can be used for future. And if there's no questions pop up, I'll give it a minute and then I'll say adios. So hopefully this was informative and worked for you guys, and something, like I said, I have a number of clients, especially with the COVID situation, that they said, well, we used to sign batches and had the batch approval and put it on the next departments, and they did it through folders and not emails, nothing. And then I implemented workflow for that type of process. Same thing on the vendors, and then the spinoff is I've been obviously for the purchase requisitions and orders as well. And like I say, what's nice is you have that history behind it. So again, I keep saying I'm going to stop. So stop me, Allie, and I will sign off. Oh, something's popped up. Oh. No problem, Allie. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody, have a good afternoon. Stop showing my screen.